industry. Lastly, our commitment to a quality and customer-first approach has never wavered. Your project will be completed by experienced craftsmen in a timely manner, and our lifetime warranty reinforces that commitment. STL Fenceworks warranty surpasses anything offered in the industry. Visit stlfenceworks.com and allow us to bring your backyard dreams to life. As always, at STL Fenceworks, your satisfaction is our passion.
It's Proctor spelled like doctor for custom window fabrics and shutters. Upgrade or start from scratch. Either way, Michael is the St. Louis expert. Check him out at proctordrapery.com and then call Proctor spelled like doctor for shutters, shades, and draperies.
Proctor Drapery, the best in town. No finer window fashion can be found. Call for an appointment at your home. Spell Proctor like doctor.
Do you live in St. Charles County? Then you can get Mid-Rivers News Magazine delivered free to your home just by asking for it. Mid-Rivers News Magazine is the only print source for the political, school, business, and sports news happening in your hometown. Simply visit midriversnewsmagazine.com/subscribe to get a copy delivered to your mailbox. Or you can pick up a free copy at all area Deerbergs and Schnuck stores. Mid-Rivers News Magazine. Anybody who wants it gets it. Anybody who gets it wants it. Subscribe for free today.
Even in these uncertain times, Missouri lawyers are here to help. If your income has been impacted by the current global crisis, or if you qualify as a low-income household, you can have your legal questions answered for free at missouri.freelegalanswers.org. You can ask up to 5 questions, and they'll be answered by a lawyer licensed in Missouri at no cost to you. Missouri lawyers want you to know you are not alone. Get free answers to your legal questions at missouri.freelegalanswers.org. Brought to you by the Missouri Bar.
St. Louis's place to talk. The American people have further lost faith in our governmental institutions.
People can decide what they want and how they want to live.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion. This hour of Bongino brought to you by the Dental Link. Call Dr. Alan Link today at 314-794-6464 to schedule your free consultation. Offices in Baldwin and Melville.
Show Dan 24/7 at Bongino.com.
We have the best listeners, Jim. Some guy just emails me. I won't say his name. Dan, you're right about these bums who don't want to pay off their student loans. I know one of them next door who wants to buy Pokemon and Magic cards with the student loan payoff money. Exactly. That's the point. I'm up at 3:30 in the morning putting this show together every day to pay off Tony's student loans so we could go smoke a bowl down the block in the corner with a 40-dog dinner like Crazy Horse at night. I'm past, man. I'll pass. I'm not working to pay off your loans. Get your ass out of the seat and go get a freaking job. That's called the loan repayment program. A job. Job. J-O-B-S if you're Joe Biden and you can't spell a 3-letter word.
A 3-letter word. Jobs. J-O-B-S. Job.
Still the best Joe Biden cut. Hey, if you own a small business, you know the value of time. Innovation Refunds does too. That's why they made it easy, no matter how busy you are, to apply for the Employee Retention Credit, or ERC. Go to getrefunds.com to get started in less than 8 minutes. See if your business qualifies for ERC assistance. Your business may be eligible for a payroll tax refund of up to $26,000 per employee kept on payroll during COVID-19. Innovation Refunds has already helped clients claim over $3 billion in payroll tax refunds through the ERC, and they may be able to help your business too. There's no upfront charge either. They don't get paid until your business gets its refund. Many businesses believe they won't qualify based off incomplete or outdated information. So don't let this opportunity pass you by, because this payroll tax refund is only available for a limited amount of time. Go to getrefunds.com. That's getrefunds.com.
Dan Bongino.
You're listening to Dan Bongino on News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com.
All right, let's go to Dave. Dave, you're on the Dan Bongino Show. What do you got for us?
Hey, Dan, love the show. Thanks for all you do for our country. Hey, when you read that leaked text, when you read that leaked text that said, when do we release the next variant? I think that's the most important part. That sums it all up. I've been calling.
When do we deploy? Deploy. Wait, hold on, Dave. You're right.
Well,
he says, when do we deploy the next variant? Which is actually even worse than that's the exact quote.
Yeah.
But I got a few emails on that. Dave, don't hang up. But I got a few emails on that. And one of the things, Dave, I know you sound like a regular listener, which I deeply appreciate. I never get ahead of myself. And you got to be careful here that the guy's not being sarcastic. I really believe this thing came from the Wuhan lab in China. So I don't know that, but because I don't know, that's why I didn't talk about it. I don't want you to think I didn't catch that. What Dave's referencing, by the way, and thanks for the call, Dave, is a text in the beginning of the show from a UK health minister talking about a fear campaign around COVID. And he says, when do we deploy the next variant? I didn't just gloss over it. I get exactly what that word technically means. But if you read the context of the text, it appears he's being, at least in that part, sarcastic in the use of the word deploy. But I don't know that. That's why I don't get ahead of my skis. I'm not a liberal. I don't jump the gun on stuff. Folks, check out the podcast today. You're really going to like it.
Colombo and Katie.
Kellyanne Conway, I wanted to get your thoughts on what happened with Don Lemon last week.
My experience with him is he's always been a misogynist, sexist jerk. His treatment of me on his program and then his treatment of me when I wasn't on his program has been abhorrent. I don't know how you train people away from something that they believe. He clearly believed it wasn't a slip of the tongue.
Tony Colombo, Katie Fitzpatrick, weekdays at 2 on Newstalk STL.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. That's 800-281-4224.
The YMCA is just a starting line. For the true self blooms only when we find our purpose, what makes us tick below the surface. Y is the before work hustle, an after school home, a section of my block, a corner to call my own. With my Y, I stand strong, seen and supported all along. It's a million faces in a mirror, and everyone belongs. Find your Y. Join today at ymca.org for a better us.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is Newstalk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. Joe Biden is quickly losing support from key Democrats in a very influential swing state.
Many New Hampshire rank-and-file Democrats are upset with President Biden for supporting South Carolina's successful bid to hold the nation's earliest presidential primary. Concerns in New Hampshire run deeper, in line with polls that show Democrats nationwide oppose the 80-year-old's re-election plans. Voters cited Biden's age, his lack of support among progressives, and the messy withdrawal from Afghanistan. Former New Hampshire House Speaker Steve Shurtleff campaigned with Biden in 2019 and 2020, but on the eve of a new election season, asked if he wants Biden to run again. Shurtleff says, in my heart of hearts, no. I'm Jennifer King.
Also at townhall.com, another cross-country winter storm developing this week. That on the heels of a system that caused a lot of problems last week, leading to at least 13 deaths around the country. Snow will continue in Oklahoma and other parts of the West, and power outages. Roughly 200,000 homes and businesses are still in the dark nationwide. National Weather Service meteorologist William Churchill says expect heavy rain from the southern plains into the lower Mississippi Valley.
There's a decent chance that there will be some regional flooding in that area, and that's mainly from Tuesday into Wednesday and Wednesday night. That'll actually continue and widen out a bit into Thursday, mostly impacting the Mid-South. So that's really the biggest concern from a weather hazard perspective.
FBI says 4 Americans kidnapped after gunmen opened fire on their vehicle in the Mexico border city of Matamoros. That just after they had crossed over the border from Brownsville, Texas. They were traveling in a white minivan with North Carolina plates. More on these stories, townhall.com.
We're entering a time of increasing hostility against people of faith, a time when Christians are going to be tested on a moral and physical and financial basis, unlike any other time in our lifetime. I'm Lance Wallnau, Christian author, evangelical leader, here to remind you that you have to take action to protect and steward what God has given you. For example, record high inflation is going to continue to eat away at the dollar, and the savings of your retirement account is in danger. Fortunately, God does provide a way. To protect your retirement, I recommend diversifying your 401k or IRA out of paper and into physical gold. And the best way to do that is with a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. Now, to see how it works, just text the word faith to 989898. That'll give you access to a free info kit on gold IRAs. There are no strings attached, so text FAITH, F-A-I-T-H, to 989898 right now, and I pray your family is blessed with peace of mind because you took action.
Russia has published a video of a visit by that country's defense minister in an occupied Ukrainian city.
Russia is keen to project a sanitized image of control over parts of occupied Ukraine. The defense ministry says Sergei Shoigu's trip was to check the Russian military's work to, in its words, restore the infrastructure of Donbass. Those words will grate in Ukraine, given that Russia is responsible for the destruction in the first place. The United Nations estimates 90% of residential buildings in Mariupol were damaged or destroyed in the months before the port city finally fell to the Russians in May.
BBC correspondent Danny Eberhardt. Crews in Greece have cleared the final sections of wreckage from that deadly train collision from the tracks. Protests and political fallout continue. 57 people killed in that incident. Breaking news and analysis, townhall.com. Well, Uncle Sam says ExxonMobil violated federal law for failing to take sufficient action as 5 hangman's nooses were displayed at a facility in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission alleges in its lawsuit that a black employee found a hangman's noose at his work site at the chemical plant in January 2020. The government says Exxon knew of 3 other nooses found at the complex, but failed to take action to prevent such harassment, and then a 5th noose appeared. ExxonMobil says it disagrees with the allegations and that it investigated the complaints.
That is correspondent Jeremy House reporting. On Wall Street at this hour, stocks remain in the green. The Dow up nearly 10 points. On the tech side, NASDAQ ahead right now by 5. More on these stories at townhall.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Temperatures are warming quickly today. We're going to be topping out in the lower 70s across the area. We will stay with those mainly overcast skies, and then later a cold front comes in. This is going to be a dry cold front, but it will help cool temperatures to near normal values tomorrow. The low tonight, 40 degrees, high on Tuesday, 52 degrees. And then we're looking at periods of rainfall starting Tuesday night through Friday. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tony Colombo.
Libertarianism is all about individual liberty.
Katie Fitzpatrick.
Oh, good for you.
Colombo and Katie on News Talk STL.
Time to rise has been engaged. We're better, best to rearrange. I'm talking here to me alone. I listen to the finest work song. The finest hour.
Good afternoon, St. Louis. You are listening to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. I am Katie Fitzpatrick. I'm joined here today by the one, the only, Vic Porcelli from the Vic Porcelli Show, 9 to 11.
Oops, wrong Italian.
Weekdays
Weekdays 9 to 11. How you doing, Vic?
Great, Katie. Thank you so much. I appreciate the plug.
Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.
My pleasure.
Tony is out today. He's sick. He has a 24-hour bug.
Huh, how does he know that? It's not over yet.
That's true. But I think his son had the 24-hour bug, and then he recovered very quickly.
Got it.
So we are hoping for a speedy recovery with Tony. He never takes sick days. He never misses work.
He's a workhorse.
Oh, my gosh. I mean, even today, I think Tony is very sick. And even today, he was trying to find a way to work. I'm like, dude, take a break. Just sit and eat soup and sleep.
It's hard. You know?
That's true.
I had COVID, and I didn't miss a show.
That's true.
So it's like when you do this, does this work?
You know what? That's when you had COVID, was it really, really bad? This was 2021, correct?
I think, yeah.
Yeah, because we started. It was in the fall of whenever we were starting Newstalk
Yes,
STL.
I think that's right, yeah.
Why? I don't know how.
We started July 19th.
Yes.
Yeah.
So whenever you had COVID, were your symptoms
It was a bad cold,
cough?
is all it was. You know,
Okay.
I live with a nurse, okay?
Yes. Very
So,
smart woman.
Took the COVID test. It was positive. This is where she springs into action. Vaporizer over here, humidifier over here, shoving pills down my throat. You know, all this stuff. You know,
Cure,
so
Vic.
I think that was a big reason why I recovered so quickly, because she just went into her nursing mode.
And you know, COVID is, again, another hot topic that we will be discussing today because new information came out regarding Dr. Anthony Fauci. And I know that you call him Lord Farquaad.
I do call him
I
Lord
know you
Farquaad.
do. And so we're going to be talking about him today because new information happened. And we're going to talk to him. We're going to talk about him at 3:05. At 2:45, we have an interesting discussion that Vic and I kind of were talking about earlier today. It's about Chris Rock, and I want to get Vic's thoughts on Chris Rock after we read some headlines posted by some of our favorite news outlets. Haven't had a chance to watch the special, but Vic, I know you have watched the special.
I did.
And he has some thoughts about it that I'm excited to hear.
I actually watched two things
Mhm.
over the weekend. One I'd like you to watch, one I'd like you not to watch.
And we're going to talk about that because this Chris Rock thing has there's a lot of discussion that's happening around it. And some of it I'm a little iffy about, some opinions, but I think I'm more on the way of thinking on your opinion is correct. And we're going to talk about that at 2:45. At 2:25, we're going to talk to a state representative. He's going to talk about school board election transparency. This is important because we have a lot of parents being highly active, highly involved in their school now with what the kids are learning, education, what teachers are teaching. How do parents get involved? How do they know what's going on if you're working all the time? If you can't make it to those board meetings. So we're going to speak about that at 2:25 with Phil Cristofanelli, state
nice
representative. Nice Jewish name. and I'm excited because I feel like I'm always surrounded by Italians. Vic,
What's wrong with that?
Tony. Now we're going to talk to Phil. No, it's wonderful. It's great. Except for I really need one of the Italians to bring in their wife's cooking.
Oh.
I'm looking at.
Good news is, I just happened to notice 4 eggplant in the kitchen.
I'm looking at you because I know Jess. I know Jess is cooking up something beautiful and
Kid, you
delicious.
have no idea. You have no idea about her cooking. Oh, my God.
But this is where I am like, why doesn't she write like a tiny little cookbook that for people that aren't Italian that we could go? Because you guys were talking about. This is why I say write the little cookbook, Jess. If you're listening, write the little cookbook because you guys were talking about her sausage and peppers. Months and months ago. This is before I left on maternity
And I
leave.
never brought you any. I apologize.
Don't be sorry, because what I did when I was on maternity leave, I decided to do the sausage and peppers.
And how did it go?
I think it's okay. I think I was all right, but I'm very Irish, so I didn't have the little zest that it requires. I think
I don't want to.
the Italian zest.
I don't know. Can I tell something here real quick? or-
Please,
Okay.
please.
So with the eggplant Parmesan, really one of my favorite things. How can it not be a favorite thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what she does is she skins the eggplants, slices them, salts them like crazy, all kinds of salt on it. And then the most important part, and this is how I know, when I come home and I see like encyclopedias stacked up and bottles of wine on top of it, because she says you have to squeeze out that bitterness of the eggplant. So
you got to stack.
Just as heavy as you can find. Things you can just find that are as heavy as you can, and just let them sit for like hours, and then all the bitterness comes out. Because you can get an eggplant sandwich from a restaurant. It's kind of bitter, and it's not good. You know?
So this is not an old wives' tale to stack things up and it takes the bitterness out. This is legitimately what can happen. Forgive my stupidity on this.
No. Yeah, I know. Was it a wives' tale? I don't know. Do all Italians in New Jersey do it? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
That is so, I love
So
that.
I think maybe some eggplant parmesan may be in your future.
I love it. Oh my gosh, that sounds absolutely amazing. But I'm excited to be surrounded by Italians because of all the good cooking and the great stories. It's wonderful. And we're going to talk today about something, just to switch gears just a little bit, to something a little bit sensitive, about our dear friend Skip Weber and what happened to him. I believe it was this morning at 2 a.m. For those who don't know, I'm going to read this story about Skip Weber and his lovely wife, but their house caught fire. Enormous house caught completely in flames. The fire is out now, but a few crews are still at the scene this morning. The Columbia fire chief told Fox 2 that the couple who lives in this home are Lori and George Skip Weber. They own the car dealerships across the area. The two have 3 kids who are adults and do not live here, but this was their childhood home. 2 of the family's dogs did not make it out. This was shared by, again, the Columbia fire chief. At around 2:15 a.m., they were leaving the house located on Charlotte Avenue in the Stonegate Estates neighborhood. When the crew got there, the 2 dogs were inside, and the fire chief explained that one of the dogs died and the other was still missing. The couple did have a number of propane tanks in the back that fed different heaters. There were also some ammunition in a safe in the basement that started to go off.
Oh boy.
So we learn about this. Thank God for our firemen and women. Thank God they were there at the scene. And they helped, kind of quench this house, make sure everybody was safe, make sure everyone was secure. They did their job and didn't have this fire spread, which was, the pictures are just heartbreaking. It's so, so sad, especially to know this about a childhood home. But for those of you that listen to Colombo and Katie every single week, Wednesdays are when we have Skip Weber on with us. We love him. He's a dear friend of ours, a dear friend of the station's, and we have so many thoughts and prayers going to the Weber family right now because I've been to that house before.
Oh.
He hosts a beautiful Christmas party for all of his closest friends and family. And I was able to go to the house, and I was able to go to 2 of the Christmas parties. And I got to tell you, it's like a museum in there. There's so much history, and Skip has such a love for music. And Vic, what a devastating thing to wake up to this morning, and I'm just so happy that they're safe and okay.
Yeah. An enormous amount of money's worth of rock and roll memorabilia in that house, And, just as a quick editorial note, because the unintentional running theme throughout the show this morning in between 9 and 11 was, can't we get the straight story from anybody? So I'm watching Channel 5 this morning. I'm getting ready for work, put my laptop in the bag, and I see, a house on fire. And the lady goes, well, firefighters are working on a fire in Columbia, Nowhere did she say it was Skip Weber's house.
Which is insane to me to not say who the people are. A big story like this, how could you not say whose house it was?
And then I'm not the only one that turned away when it was like house on fire. Okay, that happens every night, house on fire.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Say it's Skip Weber's house, and then I'll be interested.
Oh, no, I absolutely agree with you, Vic. This morning, whenever I was looking at it at my newsfeed at around 6:30, 7 o'clock, I did see this story, and all it said was, house caught fire in Columbia, Illinois.
Yep.
And I was thinking to myself, okay,
another house fire.
That stinks. That's so bad. And then at around 8 o'clock, my dad texted me and was like, you have to read this story. Is everything going okay with Skip? And I was like, oh, my God.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, he and his wife are okay. The family is safe. I'm so heartbroken about their dogs. I can't imagine that kind of loss. So sad.
I couldn't either.
I can't imagine it. But I am happy that they're safe. And again, thoughts and prayers in an immense way go to that family. We love them so dearly. So I hope that Skip is listening and we can contact him sometime this week to catch up and make sure that he's okay. The second story that I have for you that's another local story is, you said you didn't know about these car break-ins. this has happened so many times, and the reason why it's important to me is because I am the type of clientele that people are trying to bring downtown. My generation, my age, we're opening up things like the Foundry. We're opening up things like the Armory. We're having, the typical things that happen in Union Station, where the Ferris wheel.
Soccer,
yeah, the city. So my age group, people in their late 20s, early 30s, I am the demographic that they're trying to bring into the city with our friends.
Yeah.
Got a little bit of money now, can spend it a little bit, have some drinks, like to party. So this is why this story I'm reading next is kind of devastating. The St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department is investigating a rash of car break-ins at the Armory over the weekend. Police confirmed to News 4 at least a dozen cars were broken into when officers arrived to the call. The Armory has had a series of break-ins during the few months of business it's been open. We had just heard about a lot of people saying that cars were getting broken into on Facebook and things, one woman told News 4 at the Armory on Sunday. So we were a little bit skeptical, but we came during the day and it was a really good time. We owe it to our taxpayers that we provide the best services here in the city of St. Louis so that we can thrive and that we can feel safe and we can go about our business, says the Alderwoman Tina Phil, who represents the Midtown Ward. Phil said she's been planning to meet with the police tax captain for the district to discuss the crime plan to prevent car break-ins. This is the second time, Vic, I have heard about this rash of car break-ins at the Armory. And like the story highlighted, it's been open a few months. And criminals understand that people are going to go to the Armory. It's brand new. It's really, really cool. Awesome atmosphere, super fun. Now people are having like DJs and musicians and bands go there to perform during the day and night. So it's gaining some momentum, but I don't want to go down there. I certainly don't want to go down there. I can't Uber down there from where I live. The bill would be astronomical. But I also don't want to leave my car there. So what choice does someone my age who wants to go out and have a good time in the city, live a little bit, have some nice drinks with their friends, go see a DJ, what choice do we have to go to a place like the Armory where it could be a really good time, but we're sacrificing our safety or the safety of our belongings? What is the point then, Vic, of going downtown?
Right, no, there's not. And your answer to the question is streets of St. Charles.
Yeah.
Why would I come down here and risk getting my car broken into, when I can go up there? Jesse and I went to go see Jamie Lissau at the Funny Bone, who was great.
Great.
And then right across the street is Bar Louie, I think it's called.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We had a great burger, and I was like, this is great. It's movie theater there. There's a place where they have milkshakes with alcoholic milkshakes.
Mm-hmm.
So why would I drive? Why would you drive down here when the streets of St. Charles is 10 minutes from where you live?
It just doesn't make any sense to me that we have. I mean, when we talk about this so much as a station, but we have so much crime and so much violence that riddles a really cool area. And I said this on Friday. We have a soccer stadium newly built with holes in the wall bullet holes in the wall because people are firing at each other in the middle of the night. Mm-hmm. We have all of these attractions being built, Union Station being one of them, that we're trying to upgrade and update so that families feel safe, so that young people can come down here and have a good time. Not trying to isolate out older people either, but we're trying to make this place like Nashville. We're trying to make this place like Atlanta, where you feel, maybe not so much Atlanta, you feel too safe, but you feel like there's a culture. You feel like there's a reason to come down here and spend money. Mm-hmm. And I surely don't feel like my safety is worth going to the Armory right now. I feel like I can't spend money in this city and be down here when the sun goes down, or else my tires are going to be slashed, my car's going to be broken into, and my credit cards could probably be stolen.
Not to mention, a lot of the places you can't bring a firearm into the place, so you have to leave it in the car, and then they'll take that too. How old are you? 30?
30.
Okay.
30.
So 30 years ago,
mm-hmm.
I came. This year is my 30th anniversary here in town. 1993, I came here.
Oh, so cool!
And I had to come alone because you can't sell your house in 2 weeks in New Jersey like you could here at the time. So I came alone. Chris and Jessica were still home, and I lived at Gentry's Landing over there on 4th Street. And there was a beautiful, when I tell you, beautiful mall. beautiful shopping mall down there, and now it's gone, strictly because of the crime.
That is so devastating.
You don't even know it was there, did you?
No,
Yeah, see?
not at all.
Right.
But I mean, and that's how I feel about the Galleria too. I loved the Galleria. Oh my gosh. And what a sight to see when I was little growing up, all of the stores you could ever imagine were at the Galleria. So much fun. And it was one of those things like, I mean, this is really sad, but like the Mills Mall. You know, the Mills Mall was supposed to be this really big, hyped up thing.
I loved it.
Oh, so did I. And, you know, now no one goes there
Here's the
anymore.
irony, okay? All the fights and the gunfire happens at the Galleria.
Mm-hmm.
That's still open, but the Chesterfield Mall never had a problem, and that's closing down and going to be shut and going to be torn down.
Oh, yeah.
Chesterfield Mall.
It's just we're living in a really sad state of affairs where we can't figure out what's going on within our city. Nobody seems to care. And the people that do care can't make the laws and can't make the legislation and push it forward to protect us, to make us feel like we could come down here and have a really good time. It's really devastating. It's really sad. We hope that we can revive this place, but I'm not seeing any way out. I'm not seeing that there's any way out of just the crime and violence that's happening down here.
Nothing we can figure out right here, right now, anyway.
No, definitely not. We're going to speak to State Representative Phil Cristofanelli next. He's going to talk to us about school board elections and the transparency bill that just passed to help parents know what's going on in our school districts. You are listening to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Welcome home.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
But I'm not going to turn my dialogue to you guys. I really like this channel.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right nice soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
Larry Connors, USA.
And I'm against it. I'll fight it every step of the way, and so should you. And the parents who send their kids to this private school, we need to have a come to Jesus meeting.
Larry Connors, weeknights at 6 on News Talk STL.
Sometimes I feel I've got to run away. I've got to get away from the pain you drive into the heart of me. The love we share seems to go.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL, newstalkstl.com. Vic, what do we think about this song?
Tainted Love,
Mm-hmm.
Great song. It's actually a remake of an old Motown song from the 1960s.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Had no idea.
Yep. And there's a remix version or whatever you want to call it that they do that, and then it kind of segues right into Baby, Where did our love go?
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, but it's remake.
I love that. By the way, I'm Katie Fitzpatrick. I'm here with Vic Porcelli, The Vic Porcelli Show, 9 to 11, Monday through Friday. Make sure you listen to it. Especially, I feel like today we have a very special crowd of people because all of the Vic heads are showing up in full force.
Oh, are they? In the
Oh,
chat
yeah.
box?
I posted a photo of you and I earlier today.
Right.
And it was promoting the show, and we had a lot of Vic heads show up. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure you have to listen to 9 to 11 now. You have to Monday through Friday because you need to join that army, the Vic head army.
Join us for coffee to go before the show starts.
Yes, sir.
It's always all fun.
So something else besides the crime and violence happening downtown is the importance of education. It's the tools that parents need right now to arm themselves to talk about education, what teachers are teaching in our districts, and to be involved as much as they can possibly be involved. And we're going to be speaking to State Representative Phil Cristofanelli right now on a special legislation that he put together. It's a school board election transparency bill that advanced through committees. Phil, thank you so much for joining us today.
Glad to be with you.
We are so excited to speak with you. I'm Katie Fitzpatrick. Again, Vic Porcelli is filling in today for Tony Colombo.
Hi, Zon. How you doing?
Yeah, that's right.
And we wanted to talk to you about this bill that passed through committee. And what's the importance of this bill? Go ahead, Phil. Tell us about it.
Well, I tell you, the way you file for school board is a little weird in the state of Missouri. We have over 525 some odd school districts across our state, which is an astronomical number when you compare it to other states. And so each of those has a school board of somewhere between 5 and 9 people. And each school district has a different way of going about filing for those offices. And you have to do it at the actual school district building most of the time, which is ultimately, the people that you are running to govern, and they're also the people that are probably closest to the incumbent members. So it's a really intimidating process for a lot of parents who want to get involved in their school board and their kids' education. And further, it's not always clear, which seats are up, who you might be running against, when those terms come due. And so we want to make all that transparent to the voting public. And so what my bill would do is it would create an online interactive database on the Secretary of State's website that monitors every single school board in the state, makes clear who's on the school board, when their term ends, and provides a guide to how you file for those offices so that more parents can get involved.
You know what, Representative? I never saw people pay more attention to school board elections than 2022. And we used to talk to, Izzy Imig all the time. Big, strong conservative. And then she got elected, and then she kind of disappeared, like they're holding her hostage, like they got a gag order or something on her.
That's right. Well, unfortunately, and I don't know Izzy, so I can't speak to her experience, but I can tell you that the Missouri School Boards Association, which is really just a wing of the establishment control of Missouri's education system, they're the folks that bring everybody in for a training as soon as you win a school board election. So you go to the indoctrination camp there, and they hook you up to what the establishment believes is the right way to run a school board. And I'll tell you, my bill doesn't really address this, but I feel strongly that we need to provide for an alternative way of parent-centered and more reform-centered perspective.
I'm sorry, State Representative, can you just say that last part? Your phone cut out a little bit. We want to hear what you have to say.
I was saying that we probably need to provide another form of educating newly elected school board members that is a little bit more parent-centered and a little bit more reform-centered, and that's what's put on by the Missouri School Board Association.
We are speaking with State Representative Phil Cristofanelli, and we're speaking about a school board election transparency bill that advanced through committee that happened. Phil, are you a parent? I hate to put you on spot, but are you a parent?
I am not a parent, but I've worked on education policy for a long time now. In 2021, you probably saw on the news that we passed the first school choice bill in over 20 years.
Yes.
And that was my bill, the Missouri Empowerment Scholarship Accounts Act, which now has resulted in over 1,000 children being able to attend the school of their choice on a state-sponsored scholarship. And so that's been a really great success and a big fight in the Capitol. And I was proud to be a part of that. And I also serve on the Education and committee there in the House and have worked on a variety of different forms of education policy in my 7 years of serving the Missouri General Assembly.
I asked this question because I think it is such an important thing for parents and people that don't have kids yet alike to show how much we need to be involved in the growth and the future of our kids. And my next question to you is, what inspired this bill? And I know that you just said you worked on school choice, but what inspired you to really start honing in on things like this, on education? What was something that, really made you feel like this was a calling for you?
Well, I had the opportunity to attend a private school when I was a kid, and that really made a big difference in my life and empowered me to do all the things that I wanted to do, like ultimately become a lawyer and become a state representative. But I'll tell you, this bill in particular came into focus, shortly after COVID, like Vic mentioned. You had so many parents that got a front row seat on their kids' education through the switch to online. And many, many parents were frustrated, not only with the quality of what they saw, but at times what was the politicization of the classroom. And so those parents started to get involved. They tried to figure out how to petition their school board. I had parents in my community overwhelming school board meetings at Francis Howe, and many of them were never given an opportunity to speak. They'd always let the union people speak first, and they became very frustrated and started running for office themselves. But I heard a lot of stories from parents not only in my district but across the state that the process for filing for office was anything but transparent and welcoming. And I thought that was an easy problem we could fix in Jefferson City. So that's why I filed the bill.
Talking to Representative Phil Cristofanelli in the Missouri House. This starts at the local level here, but Representative, it goes right to the top, right? We watched Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz rip apart Merrick Garland for the same issues on letting parents know what's going on in their kids' school lives.
Yeah, it's really frustrating, Vic. And for too long, the only people that folks on the school board would hear from are the school superintendent and the teachers' unions, and very many of them thought that their job was to negotiate between those two parties and those two parties involved alone. But really, they're forgetting the two main parties to education, and that is parents and kids. And finally, they have this new special interest of parents that they have to contend with and approach the school board, but with a perspective of representing our entire community and not just the people that make money in the education system.
Representative, was this piece of legislation, was this bipartisan, or did you find yourself having some people oppose this bill?
Shockingly, no, and I was really surprised.
That
by
is
that,
so
Katie.
surprising.
I thought this was going to be a slam dunk, and nobody was going to complain. But I tell you that I even had a few Republicans vote against it. And, so many people are just completely threatened by the idea of a disruption to the status quo in education. And education, when every education we bring up in the General Assembly, the people that are aligned with the establishment status quo, both Democrat and Republican, fight tooth and nail at every change. But I thought surely they would just let me tell people how to run for school board. But no, it passed out of committee with only like a 1-vote margin. And so it's going to be a fight just to get this basic transparency through the Capitol.
All right. So many thoughts in my head right now. This is so similar to, Nick Schroer, Senator Schroer, great friend of this station, great friend of this show, all the shows here, had the Parents' Bill of Rights thing. So keep that going for this. And you talked about they didn't want to change the status quo. CRT was a change to the status quo that was working just fine until all this crap, reared its ugly head.
Absolutely. And they have no problems with changes as long as they were their ideas. And so if the idea spawned out of the Superintendents Association or the NEA or the Missouri School Boards Association or the School Administrators Association and their army of lobbyists at the Capitol, if those were the guys that came up with the idea, we can put that right into law right away. But if it came from somebody not aligned with one of those groups, if it came from parents or they're advocates in Jefferson City, that's when they fight tooth and nail. So they have no problem with change, as you mentioned, but the change better be their idea or they're going to fight you on it.
All right, last legislative session, people at this radio station, Nick Schroer, people like that, Secretary of State Ashcroft, were very frustrated that the Republicans wasted a supermajority in the House and the Senate. And don't tell me that's going to happen again, because my blood pressure can't take it.
It's I'm frustrating because I have to watch it every day.
Right,
I ran for office as a conservative activist and started getting involved in these issues. And honestly, I thought, man, we've got 115 some odd Republicans. We should be able to pass everything that we want. But while we may have a Republican supermajority, that we do not have a conservative supermajority in the legislature. We barely have a plurality on our best day. And that's why we really have to vet primary candidates very closely, because just because you slap an R next to your name doesn't mean you share conservative values.
That is totally correct. We are speaking with State Representative Phil Cristofanelli. I know that you explained a little bit, Phil, about us being able to see the list of the names of each school board member, which I think is completely helpful. But for your portal on the website for transparency, will there also be a list of items that were discussed at these school board meetings? And will it also be places and locations like a help center, if you will, for parents that don't exactly know how to get involved?
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, and perhaps something we could add, which is, a link to what will be the upcoming school board meetings in each district. Typically districts do it on a regular cycle. Ours are on Thursdays, and so we could provide that information, I think, fairly easily into the system. As Vic mentioned earlier, we are also working on what would be a Parents' Bill of Rights in both the House and the Senate, and that is a far more comprehensive look into how our schools are governed, with a much more in-depth transparency portal that would include finances, and it would include all the district policies and curriculum. And I think that level of transparency is incredibly important to provide, and I'm hopeful that we can get that much more substantive bill done as well.
Representative, this all reminds me of the Show Me Institute's, their moschoolrankings.org site, where they give the school systems a grade, what they're spending, and now the curriculum should be another part of this. So I hope you guys are using them as a resource and them using you as a resource.
Yes, absolutely. I know that the Show Me Institute is a big advocate for this bill that I have filed on school boards, and they have been supportive of many of my other education reform efforts in the Capitol. I'll also tell you, since you brought up school scores, Nick, that DESE is about, with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, DESE is about to release the most recent scores from the Missouri Standard Testing Practices, MSIP 6. And what I hear is that we are about to see some of the most abysmal scores in the history of our state, with potentially over 100 school districts heading to provisional accredited status. And so that is very scary. So keep an eye on that information. I think it's about to come out very soon.
Wow, that is absolutely terrifying. And we will definitely keep an eye out for that, because if there's anything that we have learned, as Vic said, from 2020, we need to help these kids. We need to keep an eye and monitor on what they're being taught, how they're being taught, and if they're being taught to the level that they need to be being taught to. We don't want grades to drop. We don't want kids falling short. We need to protect education and protect these kids. We've been speaking with State Representative Phil Cristofanelli. Thank you so much for coming on Colombo and Katie today. Would you mind promoting Twitter, Facebook, your website, anything that we can keep track of what you're doing in the state legislature?
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at PHLChristo, and please give me a follow. I'm also running for the Missouri State Senate here in 2024, and I'll have a website coming on that fairly soon. So I appreciate it, Kate.
Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We greatly appreciate your time.
Take care. Bye now.
What an interesting concept.
You know what, Katie? Times have changed.
Sure.
Okay. Now, granted, I was the child of educators. My father was a teacher. My mother was a teacher. My father went on to be a superintendent. But I came home the first day of school with the syllabus and what we were going to learn the whole year. And trust me, my father knew exactly what we were going to be learning that day when he said, "What'd you learn today?" "Oh, no, nothing." You know, he would know exactly what I should have been learning. Are those days gone now?
You know, I had a syllabus growing up as well. But you're right, Vic. I have no idea if the kids come home with anything that they can show their parents to say, this is what we did today. We're living in a time, and this is, again, not all teachers. This is not all districts. This is not all classrooms. We love teachers. We think that they are amazing people that are doing yeoman's work, but it's really hard to have these discussions because as we've seen, and as a lot of places like the Daily Wire and even locally have provided us information where people are telling teachers, staff, superintendents are telling kids, it's okay to hide things from your parents.
Oh, yeah.
You can tell us. You can trust us. It's okay to hide whatever it is you need to hide from your parents, and we've got your back. We've got your cover.
All right, now, Katie, not for nothing.
Okay.
But you got a little girl growing up.
I do.
That's going to be in school soon.
Mm-hmm.
So you better keep your eye on this stuff. Thank God all this stuff happened after my kids were out of public school.
Oh, my gosh.
Or my wife would have been arrested on a weekly basis at the school board meetings. I'm telling you right now.
I know. I that would be a tough thing. Holy cow. Would she be fighting on those school board meetings? Vic, are you going to take us out with a little bit of something?
I can if you like.
I think we should, and I think you should explain it.
We were talking about Tainted Love. You
Yes.
asked me about Tainted Love.
Yes.
And it's originally by Gloria Jones from 1964, and I can play you a little bit from you.
Please.
From here.
Let's take it. Let's take her out. Let's take this break and.
I don't know why we don't hear it. There we go.
Ooh.
Wild, right?
Beautiful.
Isn't that cool?
Love it. This needs to be added to our playlist.
You think?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is some good stuff.
You got it.
You are listening to Colombo and Katie on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. We will be right back and talk about Chris Rock.
Hey, it's Katie, reminding you to subscribe to our show podcast so you never miss anything that happens here at News Talk STL. Get our podcasts every day on the show pages at newstalkstl.com, or just subscribe to your favorite shows on Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, or anywhere else you get your podcasts.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
The news and talk.
Thank you for welcoming back to Poland.
That matters to St. Louis.
Ukraine will never be a victory for Russia. President Putin chose this war.
This is 101.9 and 94.1. What's happening? News Talk STL. You're listening to Colombo and Katie.
I played this little ditty for Vic Porcelli.
Thanks, Katie.
No problem. You're listening to Colombo and Katie on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL, newstalkstl.com. You guys can join us on Facebook, on Rumble, or on YouTube, because we're there live streaming. So say hi to us in the chat box. Thank you guys for showing up, too. It looks like the chat box is insane right now.
Check that out.
Thank you guys so much and chat box was coined by Vic Porcelli.
It was?
It was coined by, I don't think anybody was using it before you used it.
My trendsetter?
You absolutely are. So
Hey,
thank you for that.
You got it. Before we go on, can I just mention why we play Leonard Skinner real
Please.
quick? Gary Rosington, guitar player you heard there, Leonard Skinner, died yesterday. He was 71 years old. And Katie, he was the last living member of the original Leonard Skinner
Oh,
band.
my goodness
So now they're all gone.
gracious. That is so terrible.
He survived the plane crash. Who survives a plane crash?
How? How in the world? And I'm assuming he did die of old age then.
He was 71.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, that's young.
Thank you.
That's pretty
I'm
young.
right behind him. So
That
thanks
is
for that.
young.
Yeah.
Wow, that is, and Vic, if anybody, I know everybody listening to this station already knows this, but Vic is like a plethora of knowledge when it comes to music from all of his years doing music radio. And so anytime you have any questions or comments about bands, artists, Vic probably has met them.
I'm not sure it's knowledge as much as a love for the stuff, you know?
Yes,
You
I
know?
do know. And I think it's incredible. I love those little tidbits of knowledge.
Right on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. And so I want to talk to you, speaking of music, speaking of artists, I know that Chris Rock might not be the people's favorite stand-up comedian, but I have watched some of his specials before on Netflix. But there has been his latest Netflix special that came out. There has been some controversy swirling around about it because some people believe that he's acting a little bit more conservative, while others believe that the special was, I think you might be one of those people that actually watched what he and listened to what he had to say for the hour. Or
full transparency, I did not watch it live. This was a historical thing because Netflix never did a live show before.
Right.
So they did it live Saturday night.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Live. Yeah.
I did not realize that.
First time
Wow.
Netflix has done a
For
live
Chris Rock.
thing. Yeah. Well, because of the Will Smith slap and the Oscars are coming up next week, so it all kind of fits in, you know.
Wow.
So, he was the big marquee. I'm sorry, to finish my statement. I watched it late last night, so I didn't watch it live. I just want to say that. The big marquee material was supposed to be him getting slapped by Will Smith, and he did. He handled that at the end. Of course, you got to do your encore, you do your free bird. Speaking of Leonard Skinner at the end, you know. And I watched him, Katie, and all I heard him tell me was how bad of a person I am.
Wow.
Knocking white people left and right, you know?
So, because Vic and I had a small little discussion about this, because I have not seen the special yet, I went on the dailywire.com, and we have Virginia Cruda that works for the Daily Wire, so we love the Daily Wire. That we have got good material, good people that come from the Daily Wire. But I went on their website to see one of their headlines about Chris Rock, and this is what it reads. Chris Rock torches wokeness. Meghan Markle and Will Smith in Netflix special Don't Fall into the Woke Trap. Didn't know that was the name of it. The article.
The special was called Selective Outrage.
Okay, gotcha. So they're saying Don't Fall into the Woke Trap might have just been a quote from the special. Then I guess that's what it's saying. Yeah. So the article says this. Comedian Chris Rock hit on a variety of major topics during the debut of his Netflix special, Selective Outrage, on Saturday night, including the infamous slap that he got from actor Will Smith during the Academy Awards last March. Rock began the show by taking shots at people who get triggered and believe that words hurt. He says this, anybody that says that words hurt have never been punched in the face. Words hurt when you write them on a brick. Rock slammed cancel culture, the delivery. I am not giving these things the justice that they deserve probably with the delivery, but anybody that says, I'm sorry, I just read that. Rock slammed cancel culture, saying that people get ahead in the workplace by trying to cancel those in positions above them. Don't fall into the woke trap, he says. This next part I'm going to have to editorialize and bleep a little bit. He continues, the thing I have a problem with is the selective outrage. Selective outrage are full of S. Mother effers typing out
on this here radio.
Woke stuff. Tweets on a phone made by child slaves. Not only is everybody full of S, every business is full of S. Ugh. I was in the mall the other day. I went by the store Lululemon. I walk by and in the window, every Lululemon there sign says, we don't support racism, sexism, discrimination, or hate. And I'm like, who gives an F? You're all selling yoga pants. I don't want your yoga pants or politics. So these are just a couple of the blurbs. Again, I had to edit a lot while reading. that were from his special. But Vic, you have a different, from watching the special, you have a different opinion.
Yeah, it's one thing to talk about how bad woke is. It's something else to give some examples, okay? Because what he said was, talking about selective outrage, one person does something and gets canceled for it. Another person does it and nothing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But no specificity there at all. What does that mean? Because that works both ways, right?
Yes.
A Republican person can get canceled, Democrat not. A Democrat can get canceled, Republican not. It works both ways. The whole Meghan Markle thing, people were like, he made fun of Meghan Markle. Well, listen carefully, okay? Because the real punchline to that joke is, Meghan, how stupid can you be? You're talking about the royal family. They're the OG racists. So is that making fun of Meghan Markle? Or is it making fun? You know, so whoever wrote that, don't tell me he was cutting up on Meghan Markle, because he was cutting up on the royal family. Don't get me wrong. Not the biggest fan of the royal family, okay?
Sure.
But I love the Queen. I did love the Queen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was cool to say Her Majesty and stuff like that, right? But, you know, and then the big finale was Will Smith, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Will Smith slaps him, and people would say, by the way, if you're going to work on your Chris Rock, you got to get a little gravel in your voice. I got slapped by Will Smith. But he said that people would say to him, why didn't you fight back? And he goes, because not the way I was raised. I was raised to not to fight in front of white people. Drops the mic, end of show.
Holy
That's a
cow.
quote. That's a quote. So, was he really? I mean, don't get me wrong. He did knock Will Smith. He did knock his crazy wife.
And woke culture and.
Well, let's stay on Will Smith. But you know, he did do that. But again, the punchline goes back to don't fight in front of white people. You know, there was a lot of that. There really was a lot of it.
And that's what I told you before. Whenever I've watched his previous specials, Chris Rock has, to my understanding of what I've watched, has been very anti-police. He has never had a kind word that has been said about the police department, police officers. He has been pretty anti-white also in his previous messages. So whenever I saw this headline, I was like, what? And I spoke with my husband, who we watched maybe 5-10 minutes of the special, but David thought it was a little bit boring.
From the beginning?
From the beginning, but David was like, it just wasn't grabbing my attention.
So it's just boring to you.
He just was like, it wasn't fascinating enough, and I had it kind of on in the background while doing other things. So we didn't get a good gauge on what was going on, but from the headlines, it seemed like he was turning over a leaf and, you know, really going after wokeness, really going after, you know, the cancel culture.
What does that mean, Katie? What does that mean, what you're saying? He went after wokeness. How? Give me something specific. How did he go against wokeness? Because he didn't. I'm telling you.
Right.
He didn't.
This is why it's so...
You can't just say, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm being your partner.
No, go ahead.
You can't just say, don't be woke, don't give in to woke, without saying, well, what are you talking about? The Lululemon, whatever that is. He was talking about how the yoga pants were $100, you know? And I don't need $100 yoga pants. I'll go buy them for $20, you know? And the sign said something about...
Hate has no home here, basically. No racism, sexism.
No hate, right? If you walk in there and say, hey, what do you think about Donald Trump? They'll say, I hate him. Guaranteed.
And, you know, there is no way that Chris Rock is a Republican. There is no way that he's a conservative.
There's no way.
And going back to whenever we talked about this in our first segment, which you can podcast, by the way, if you went to Colombo and Katie, it was a very great discussion. We talked about how with the Skip Weber story, we didn't see a name in the headline whenever it was being talked about on some of the TV stations.
Just get the story right.
And I kind of feel the same way about what was written with Chris Rock. Yeah. It was a little bit deceiving that I saw all of these headlines this weekend about, you know, Chris Rock really gave it to the wokesters and
He
this
really
and
didn't.
that.
He really did.
And then I talked to people that watched the special and they were like,
Isn't it funny, though, Katie, how two people can watch the same thing, get two completely different takes on it?
Maybe it was just a little bit more surprising than anything that you see him come out and say, like, screw cancel culture. But as a comedian, I think I don't know a single comedian nowadays that doesn't say that mantra. I mean, whether you be a Republican or Democrat, you love Trump, you hate Trump, whatever the case may be, there isn't a single comedian alive that isn't beating that drum saying, this is hurting our society to have things like cancel culture.
Fox Nation has a special right now called The Death of Comedy, you know.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And Chris Rock threw around the N-word a lot too, by the way.
Did he?
You know, it's hard to justify everything that we're told when we see that too and hear that, you know. And some NBC guy was like, "Oh, I watched the first 15 minutes and I had to turn it off." Why? Because he heard, "Don't be woke. Woke's terrible." But if he watched it for another 10, 15 minutes, what are you talking about? You can't be that vague and just say stuff.
That's so. There's going to be a lot of things that are happening coming up with wokeness, cancel culture, people fighting the good fight against those. I'm interested to see what happens with comedy. Hopefully it survives. It better. It's the only thing holding us along in culture.
We need more Sebastian Maniscalco and Jamie Lissow.
Hell yeah, let's go. You have been listening to Katie Fitzpatrick and Vic Porcelli on Colombo and Katie. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back at 3:05.
Have you been floored? Not until you've gone to Michael's Flooring Outlet. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years. You want variety? Michael's has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, luxury vinyl, natural stone, and many other options. Save money and get quality at Michael's. Plus, your installation will be done right the first time when you hire the experts at Michael's. You can shop in store at one of their 3 convenient locations or shop from home. Check out everything that Michael's has to offer at igotfloored.com.
Freedom isn't just a word. It should be a way of life for all Missourians. Wouldn't it be wonderful to live in a state where you're free from excessive taxes, regulations, and corporate handouts, and free to send your children to the school of your choice? That's why we at the Show Me Institute put together our 2023 Missouri Blueprint, a roadmap on how the state can progress to a bright future. The blueprint covers policy ideas from taxes to government transparency, from education to health care, and more. Our vision is for Missouri to be a place where entrepreneurs can pursue their dreams. Parents are free to direct the education of their children, and a growing economy provides opportunities for all. Critical to achieving this vision is a government that understands the value of freedom in the lives and future of our people. Check out our 2023 Missouri Blueprint, moving Missouri forward at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Talk radio made in St. Louis.
Very excited for what you guys are doing for the St. Louis community.
For St. Louis.
Relevant local talk.
Saying what we are thinking.
This is News Talk STL.
You guys are awesome. I love you. And it's a tremendous honor to be on the station.
News, analysis, and opinion.
Thanks for covering the local angle. Come on, people. This is America. We better open our eyes.
Really local, really good.
News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Jason Walker. Republicans putting to use an arcane tactic to stop the efforts of majority Senate Democrats. The story from correspondent Bob Agnew.
The procedure known as a resolution of disapproval allows Republicans to force majority Democrats to debate and vote on issues they might rather avoid. Such a resolution cannot be kept off the Senate floor by the majority leader, nor is it subject to the filibuster, meaning a simple majority will suffice to see it passed. Last week, Republicans passed a resolution of disapproval against D.C.'s controversial new crime law, ultimately forcing President Biden to back down from his threatened veto, lest he appear soft on crime. Bob Agnew reporting.
Also at townhall.com, 35 protesters have been arrested in Atlanta for participating in a riot at the construction site of a new $90 million, 85-acre police and fire training facility. Correspondent Laura Winters has more.
Members of a radical leftist group called Forest Defender attacked police officers and the Atlanta training facility construction site again. After a rally, protesters shot fireworks at officers and threw rocks, bricks, and sticks. Construction equipment set on fire, orange flames and plumes of smoke rising over the site, which they call Cop City. Anti-police activists are trying to stop it from being built. Laura Winters, Atlanta.
FBI and now Mexican officials say 4 U.S. citizens have been kidnapped by gunmen after crossing into Mexico. The president of Mexico says the 4 were buying medicine and were caught in a crossfire between 2 gangs. They had entered Matamoros, right across from Brownsville, Texas, traveling in a white minivan with North Carolina license plates. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Everyone is talking about Jesus' revolution. Witness the untold origin story.
Our country is a dark and divided place, but now there's hope, and it's spreading.
Of the last spiritual awakening in American history.
This is your home, and I want you to tell all your friends about it.
Jesus Revolution, starring Jonathan Rumi and Kelsey Grammer. Rated PG-13. Some material may be inappropriate for children under 13. Jesus Revolution. Only in theaters now.
Well, thousands of transport workers all across the Philippines have now begun a nationwide strike protesting against the government's plan to phase out traditional minibuses. BBC correspondent Celia Haddon reports.
For many in the Philippines, the home-produced jeepney minibuses are a fond reminder of days past. Jeepneys were originally fashioned out of the military jeeps left behind by American troops after the Second World War. They were converted into brightly painted, cheap and cheerful minibuses. But the government's determined to get rid of them now. It's saying the jeepneys are unsafe and responsible for urban smog. Many jeepney drivers have already rejected a government offer to partially subsidize the purchase of new vehicles, saying they still can't afford the switch.
Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. A Czech company that produces more than 30 different inflatable military decoys, including tanks, armored vehicles, aircraft, and howitzers, say sales have been soaring over the past year. Inflatech chief executives will not say, though, if those decoys are being used in Ukraine. The decoys can deceive enemy cameras, thermo cameras, and radar into believing they've been pinpointed a valuable target, and then use expensive missiles to destroy it. Members of Myanmar's anti-government resistance saying soldiers have rampaged through several villages, raping, torturing, and killing at least 17 people. Wall Street numbers for today. The Dow was up 48 points, NASDAQ down 13. More on these stories at townhall.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. It's back to reality for Tuesday. We're going back down to near normal temperatures, but that's going to be much cooler. A low of 38 degrees in the morning, mostly cloudy, and a high of 54. Mainly a dry day, slight chance of rain in the evening, more likely nighttime into Wednesday morning is when we'll see some rain. Could have a few flakes in the mix in the morning Wednesday, but temperatures are above freezing, 37 for the low Wednesday morning. Dry in the afternoon with a cool high of 46 degrees for Wednesday. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL.
Join the conversation. All you have to do is say,
Hey Alexa, play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
What I want
Colombo and Katie, the new faces of talk radio.
This song makes me smile.
Does
yeah,
it?
yeah, you. It makes me smile. It makes me think of Zoolander. Have you ever watched Zoolander before, Vic?
Never.
You're listening to Colombo and Katie, 1019-941 News Talk STL. I'm Katie Fitzpatrick. I'm speaking with Vic Porcelli. The Vic Porcelli Show.
Thank you.
9 to 11
Thank
weekdays.
You. Thank you.
So you haven't seen Zoolander?
I have not seen Zoolander.
Oh my gosh, Vic. You always give me assignments on the things I need to watch.
Okay, now that you said it that way.
And you have to watch this. And I don't know if you'll think it's funny, but it is spectacular. And there's a scene in it that involves this song, and it is so funny.
Here's my thing, okay? I hit my Ben Stiller threshold.
What?
Yeah.
How?
Oh, I just have. It gets on my nerves now, you know. Meet the Parents, I thought that was one of the funniest things ever, you know. And the whole thing with, you can milk anything with nipples, you know. And then Robert De Niro goes, I have nipples, Greg. Can you milk me? You know, that was funny stuff. But the Zoolander thing, I didn't even like his role in Dodgeball, and I loved Dodgeball.
Oh,
loved
my
it.
gosh, Vic.
But the whole museum
Night at
crap,
Museum,
and- ah,
Well, you know,
ah.
you gotta. I think Night at Museum, not my favorite, but I get it. You're gonna make a lot of money when you work with Disney. I get it. Not that he's a sellout or anything, but when you hear a movie like this and then you say there could be 3 of them, cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
No, and I get that, and he can do it. You know, it's a free country, First Amendment. Doesn't mean I have to watch.
Okay, well, if you do watch Zoolander at some point, whenever that point may be,
I'll have to. Is it funny?
I think it's funny, but I don't want to tell you that, and then you think, oh, this is going to be really
It's not
funny.
me. You're not coming after me. You're coming after my wife.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I forgot because she really loves comedy.
Loves comedy, and she treats them all very harshly.
I'm going to say, then I will say this. It's a good movie.
Okay.
And I will say this other qualification, that my husband and I, it's one of our favorite movies.
Is that right?
We love it because it's just the right amount of stupid. It's such a dumb movie. It's so stupid, but it's the right amount of stupid for us.
All I can do is bring it up. That's all I can
Okay,
do.
then that's what we can do. That's all we can do.
You said Zoolander was one of your favorite movies. One of our favorite movies that's not that well known is called Blast from the Past.
Blast from the Past. Okay.
Christopher Walken.
Okay.
Sissy Spacek. They're a couple. They have a son. But he's a crazy scientist, and he's convinced that the Russians are going to bomb us.
Okay.
And a plane crashes near his house, and he built a fallout shelter under his house that looks exactly like his house. So when the plane crashes, he thinks the Russians are invading, so they all go down into the shelter and close the locks for 35 years.
Oh, my gosh.
And then they come up, and the son is Brendan Fraser. And he comes out, and he sees the world for the first time.
Oh, you know what's crazy? I just saw this on HBO Max. Last night, I was scrolling through comedies, and this was one of them. And I'm like, what is this movie?
It's great.
But speaking of Brendan Fraser, I know you have a recommendation. Oh, did I just do something?
No, you are not Ken Thunderstone.
Okay, I was gonna say, do I need to play it?
You know what's funny? Well, we have a guest in here, and if I interrupt them, I'll say, "Oh, sorry, I'm being Ken Williams," and he laughs.
We love Ken.
But I did bring that up for a reason.
Okay.
And Brendan Fraser has a movie that's you can buy now on the Amazon or one of the streaming things, and it's called The Whale.
Okay.
Okay. And he plays. Have you ever seen the show My 600-Pound Life?
I have. I could only watch a little bit of it though.
My wife, you know,
Oh.
the nurse. She's all over these kind of shows. It's somebody that big. He plays somebody.
Oh, my
that
goodness
big, right?
gracious.
He actually gained 100 pounds just to play that. He
Oh.
gained 100 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
Some of it he's bigger than that, but he did gain some, and then they had to not CGI, but the fat suit like Bobby Bacala used to wear. And I can't say too much without giving it away, but I will say he will win Best Actor Oscar next week for his performance in this movie. And it's not even a great movie. It's a good movie, but it's not a great movie. But his performance is outstanding when I tell you. a lot of people are making it a gay thing, a
Oh.
gay movie. He is gay in the movie, right? He was married to a woman, had a daughter, and then left them for a guy. So,
Okay.
yes, he's gay. But gay is not the underlying theme at all in
Yeah.
this. The underlying theme is the relationship between he and his daughter.
Wow.
And can't say much here. I'm so sorry.
Darn.
I don't want to say much. But, boy, and the daughter is your typical movie daughter bitch. You know what I mean? I hate you. You're fat. Why don't you just die
so
already?
ungrateful, spoiled.
Everything. Well, he did leave them. So she has a right to be.
Okay, yeah, bitter.
But, just terrible, awful things. It's all in one room, all in one apartment, I should say. Everything in this movie is in this one apartment.
Ooh.
And there's only 6 people in the movie. Brendan Fraser, his daughter, this guy who works for like the New Life Church and comes to try to convert him, his nurse, his ex-wife, and the pizza delivery guy. The pizza delivery guy is played by his kid. I can never remember his last name. His first name is Safia, graduate of Parkway South High School.
Nice.
Went to school with my son, and they were on the 5FD improv team together.
So cool.
So
Oh
wife
my
was like,
gosh.
is that Safia? I said, wait, Chris is Safia? And we looked it up, and it's Safia.
Holy cow.
How's that?
That is
great?
incredible.
Yeah.
I feel like Brendan Fraser, too, is one of, I grew up with him being the Mummy guy. Like that's another franchise that I love. I love the Mummies.
You're so funny.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, you're so funny.
But that he was the Mummy guy. He was also
Yeah,
George of the
Mummy guy.
Jungle.
George of the Jungle.
And then I told you he disappeared for a while, and I'm like, where did Brendan Fraser go? And then all of a sudden I see him. Is it Fraser or Fraser?
Brendan Fraser, I think.
Okay. Well, he disappeared for a while and then came back, and I saw this, like a screenshot of the whale. But I was worried, Vic, that it was going to be like a weird sci-fi movie because I didn't read anything into it that he was converting into being like a whale or something. I was so worried.
Okay,
it was going to be a weird movie.
I want to say this, and this is the last thing I'll say.
Okay.
Because I'm really worried about spoiling. It's
Okay.
really a good movie. He is a 600-pound guy who has a hard time just getting up. I will tell you that at one point his blood pressure is 238 over 130. Right? Do you remember my surgery?
Yes.
It was 220 over 110, and my wife rushed me to the hospital.
My God.
But the movie is called The Whale, but it might not be what you're thinking.
Okay. I need to go home and watch this then. I feel like you're giving a very serious plug about it.
I don't care. You can watch it. You can not watch it. If you've ever done any acting, I watch people act. When I watch movies now, especially movies I've seen 5,000 times, I don't look at the person talking anymore. I look at the person they're talking to. Because that's acting.
Yeah.
The reaction to what the other person is saying is acting.
So true.
I watch Sebastian Maniscalco over and over again because I'm studying what I did wrong when I tried stand-up comedy 40 years ago and failed,
Wow.
And I've come to one conclusion that why didn't I just talk about being Italian? Because that's not all he does, but a major part of Sebastian's stuff is being Italian.
Wow. I didn't realize that you tried to do stand-up comedy.
Yeah, well.
I didn't know that.
If I was
I'm glad you're here
successful-
with us,
If
though.
I was successful, you'd know about it.
I'm glad that you're here with us. I'm going to have to watch that movie. I really and truthfully am going to have to watch it. Is it long?
It's 2 hours. I mean, it's not that long.
Okay, well, I could definitely get through that.
Mhm.
And there's something else that I've been watching a lot, and it's Russell Brand on Rumble. I don't know if you are someone that is, besides, your love of movies, your wife, I know, has a very specific genre of movie that she loves.
She loves Forgetting Sarah Marshall, so.
Oh, that's a really,
He's in
that's great. Yeah, he's wonderful in that. But are you or your wife, are you guys people that watch things on YouTube or watch things on Rumble? By any
My
chance?
wife watches Russell Brand every single day. She never
is great.
misses an episode.
This is so great because Russell Brand has been one of the most surprising people in culture and in politics for me thus far. Whenever I watched Forgetting Sarah Marshall, I was like, this dude is total hippy-dippy. Me thinking super, super liberal.
He was.
Peace and love.
Yeah.
all that stuff. And I knew that he used to be a previous drug addict and then fought his way to sobriety. And he has a really great story about his life and upbringing, which I thought was incredible. But when you watch him as an actor or even a comedian, I was thinking, okay, this is the type of person he is. But then lo and behold, you find out all of these things that are happening behind the scenes with Russell. And he switched from YouTube to Rumble because he got censored on YouTube.
Huh. I've never had that happen to me.
Weird,
Oh, wait.
isn't it?
Yes, I have.
And now the Vic Morcelli Show is no more on YouTube. We tried, and I would say we did a very successful trial run with YouTube for your show.
I think I had the shortest comeback ever.
You had a short. It was short. But damn it, it was good.
Oh,
and of course, you can watch us on Rumble. You can watch us on Facebook. You can watch us, Colombo and Katie, on YouTube still. But and I highly encourage you guys to join us on the chat box. Comment, say you like the stuff, you don't like the stuff. We want to hear everything.
Yes.
It's very open to discussion. But Russell Brand has a very, very successful Rumble page. Well, because of his success and because of his opinions, he's been invited onto Bill Maher's program, I think, a number of times, as well as Joe Rogan. But the latest time that he's been invited on with Bill Maher, he had a discussion with someone from MSNBC, and this is what went down. And I don't know, I really like Russell Brand, and I think the message that he is saying with this MSNBC host is so spot on. So British comedian and commentator Russell Brand laced into MSNBC for its non-acknowledgement of their own political biases. What is it? Biases? Biases. After an MSNBC host attacks Fox News. Brand appeared on HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher, where MSNBC journalist John Heilman opined a lot of people said for a long time that Fox News isn't a real news network. It's a propaganda network. We know now that all the major anchors, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, the ones who stood up all day long and said, there's voter fraud, this is a fraudulent election. At the same time, we're saying this is effing BS. Sorry, Jeff and Joe, for all of the editing.
Quick second.
Yes.
He thinks he's so tough, and he loves to use the F word on the Bill Maher show.
Oh, yes.
All the time, that guy Heilman.
Really?
All the time. He thinks he's rough and tough and calls Trump a effing this and that. You know what I mean?
Oh, so he that adds to his persona,
he's
his
tough,
edginess.
like he's in the West Side Story, like he's one of the.
Oh,
when
yeah.
you're a jet all the way from
Yes.
your first cigarette. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So Brand says this: it's disingenuous to claim that there's a bias that is exhibited on Fox News or any different from the bias that is exhibited on MSNBC. It's difficult to suggest that these corporations operate as anything other than mouthpieces for their affiliate owners on BlackRock and Vanguard. And unless we start to embrace spiritually, and if I may say that word in your great country, this is Russell Brand speaking, we have to take responsibility of our own perspective. I've been on MSNBC, mate. It was a propaganda nutcrackery over there. I went on that show called Morning Joe. It was absurd the way they carried on. I don't know what it is. It wasn't morning, and there was no guy called Joe. No one could concentrate. They didn't understand the basic tenets of journalism. So this back and forth happened, and I believe Dan Bongino actually played a clip of it a little bit earlier. But Russell Brand is making the point that you can't throw stones from your MSNBC high horse over to Fox News when you clearly know that people on your network are doing the exact same thing.
Like the Russia hoax, right?
Yes.
Like the PP tape, as
Yes.
Dan Bongino likes to call it. I mean, you name it. And, we got a pretty good record on conspiracy theories on our side of the fence.
Sure do. Well, and he gave some examples which are so awesome. One of them being MSNBC continuously talked about Joe Rogan taking horse dewormer when it was ivermectin, something I think that won a Nobel Peace Prize, an award for the creator of ivermectin. And then they also have Rachel Maddow telling everybody that
The virus
if they
stops
took,
right
yes, it stops right here with the vaccine. If you took the vaccine, you were completely immune. It would 100% stopped
So sure
spread.
of herself.
So he used those as examples up against this MSNBC host. And it's funny because we don't have spaces like that anymore. Bill Maher is a space where two people can have this kind of discussion, have this kind of debate. But you don't see that really on regular TV anymore, where you have, again, Russell Brand, I would not classify as a conservative.
Right.
But I also wouldn't classify him as a liberal anymore.
No, he's calling balls and strikes. And that's all he's doing is just calling balls and strikes. Katie, how can I send you a picture I want you to look at in the next minute?
Okay.
How do I do that?
Email. I
Has
have
to
my
be
email
email?
open. Yes.
Okay.
I've got it open.
All right. While you're doing that, why don't you say hi to people in the chat box?
I would love to do that. Thank you guys so much again for joining us. Facebook, Rumble, or YouTube. We have Doug. We have Linda, David, Mark, Scotty. We have Linda, Matt, Susie Moore, of course, another David. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the chat box today. We greatly appreciate all of the support. And by the way, podcasting. If you missed anything that happened today, any of our discussions, you can podcast Colombo and Katie. You could podcast the Vic Porcelli show that happened earlier today. All of our stuff is available on any of your devices, whether your app is Amazon, Apple, Spotify, Pandora, any of the good stuff. We are there, and you can locate us on your smart devices. You can find us anywhere. Okay, I have this. I have the
sent
picture.
you a photo.
Okay.
Look at that for a second and absorb it for a minute. And I want to say hi to a couple people in the chat box.
Please.
If that's okay.
Go ahead.
Matt says, I'm so with you, Vic. I've had my fill of Ben Stiller. Sorry.
No, I disagree.
Susie Moore says plainly, baby, baby, where did our love go? Please don't leave me.
Go ahead.
That's it. Don't you leave me
No
no more,
more.
baby, baby. Ooh. David says, so sorry to Skip Weber. Very nice. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Porcelli and Katie. Prayers to the Weber family. What's going on here? I just signed on. That ain't no Colombo. Love to see Vic twice in one day. Fantastic. Can you figure out who that is, Katie Fitzpatrick?
A woman.
Oh, it's a woman.
But I don't know who it is. It's a woman with blonde hair.
Are you sitting down?
I am.
Okay. That picture is Rachel Maddow.
No way.
Yeah. It's Rachel Maddow.
No way.
It is. You might want to put
We're
that
going to
up
have to post this picture
on
because
Soch.
this looks unbelievable.
Is that how the kids say it? On Soch?
On the Soch.
On the Soches?
On the Soches. That is unbelievable to
Yep.
me. But this is a great example whenever you talk or you read about a discussion that's had on Real Time with Bill Maher. We need voices like that. And you and I over the break said, I understand that Russell Brand isn't going to be someone that's like, if I could vote, because I don't know if he's an American citizen.
He's not.
Okay. Well, in a hypothetical world, I don't think Russell Brand would say, if I could vote, I would vote for Donald Trump. Or, now I'm Team Red, or now I'm concerned. He would never say any of those things.
Right.
But it's more important to me that very, very liberal people have come to the mindset of being like, I don't want this party.
Mm-hmm.
I am not going to be voting for anyone, or I don't agree with this mindset. I think that is more important than someone completely making the shift over and having the pendulum swing all the way over to the right now.
He's just said, what's going on here? I sent you another thing.
Okay.
Which is Rachel Maddow in what year?
Oh, my God.
Don't give it away yet. Rachel Maddow in what year?
1997.
1997. And then a picture of Rachel Maddow in
2017.
And then Rachel Maddow in
2027.
That's a picture of Gene Shalit, the movie critic.
Is Rachel Maddow, is she still on? Do we know her primetime spot anymore?
I think it's
once a week?
I think so. I'm not sure.
See-
I try to watch that as little as possible.
I know.
I
So
do my part and watch a Today Show, okay?
We do.
You can't ask for more than that.
We do. This is also a very telling thing that a lot of these giant anchors that were once dominating, I wouldn't even say with ratings and revenue, but were dominating the airwaves with a message that they thought were important, are now being knocked down on their pedestal because nobody wants to buy the product they're selling anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's had enough. We've had 3 years of being inside, everything being locked down, economy going to the hole. We don't want to hear you crying and moaning anymore.
Just give us the straight facts. Just give us the straight story. That's all we're asking.
Give us the straight facts. That is what Vic Porcelli and I will leave you on. Give us the straight Scooby. Everyone everyone, stick around for the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. You've been listening to Colombo and Katie.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Vic. You are so awesome, and I love seeing you right now. We have such a good back and forth.
Yes, we do.
Tony Colombo will be back tomorrow. God willing, he is not sick. Thank you guys so much for listening. You have been listening to 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL. Welcome home.
There's no question. The Chinese hid the virus from the world.
What happens next?
The lies that China has been caught in the middle of
happens right here.
China has to pay for all of this.
101.